Usually there's music and fanfare, you know. Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. If you would please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could please call the roll.
Councilmember Kraskowiak.
Here.
Councilmember Kicker.
Here.
Councilmember Demmer.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here. Sorry, I was missing my pen. All right, first item on our agenda this evening then is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Wells. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And we are right up to Chief Wise. That was pretty fast, wasn't it? Once we got started.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, citizens of Coon Rapids. As a police department of 65 officers, from time to time, we have some staff turnover. And for tonight, we'd like to recognize one of our newest officers. As you know, we like to introduce our new officers to the community, and that as a part of that process is that we do the formal badge pinning on completion of their training, and then they also are issued the oath of office by you, Mr. Mayor. So in this case, I'd like to introduce Troy Highland. Troy, if you want to stand up here next to me. This is Officer Troy Highland. Troy was raised in Fridley, Minnesota, and graduated from Fridley High School. You'll notice that Troy is not a 22-year-old that's fresh out of college. Troy actually has a very interesting background, and I highlight that because I want the community really to hear about this. Is that Troy went to college and earned a BS in criminal justice from Winona State University, and he started his, or actually I should say while in college, he had this commitment to serve, which led him to enlist in the Naval Reserves. And in that, while he was a Naval Reserve member, then he started working for the New Brighton Police Department. He was hired as a police officer for the city of New Brighton in 2000. Troy was a very high achiever at New Brighton PD, and we were fortunate enough to be able to lure him away. The cockiness in me would like to say that there was a lot of good things about our department that he heard about and he wanted to come here. And I'm going to stick with that. And it's true. We have a great police department in this city. We have a great culture in our police department. It's a good place to work in that they know my vision is to serve the community and be a part of the community because the city gives us so much as officers and we give so much back in return. And we're thrilled that he saw that being something that he wanted to be a part of. So Troy worked the next 16 years as a police officer for New Brighton, but while he was doing that, he had that ongoing sense of service for the country as a whole through his naval service that he ultimately transferred to the Army and became a member of the Minnesota Army National Guard, at which point he went to officer candidate school and was commissioned as first or a second lieutenant, and ultimately was promoted as a captain in that unit and served as a military police leader. And he actually endured 2 different tours of duty overseas, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. So the man has seen the hazards the world has to offer and has conducted himself admirably, and the way he explains himself or carries himself, all of these things are obvious to us, and we feel very fortunate that we were able to lure him away and to have him work for our citizens here in Coon Rapids. So Troy's first day as our trainee, which is a little bit of an oxymoron in that he had 16 years of law enforcement experience in New Brighton. But I'll tell you this, is that we have our training for the Coon Rapids way, the Anoka County way. And it's an arduous training, and it's even more difficult when you spent 16 years doing it somebody else's way. And you get told to do things differently. And to Troy's credit, is he endured and is at now the back end of all that. So he hired and started as a trainee on November 28th of 2017, and since that time has been evaluated on a daily basis push to excel at meeting the needs of our community in particular. Our training program is designed to be extremely stressful, and it's made even more so when you have to sort of unlearn what you know for the Ramsey County way and now do things the Anoka County way, which of course leads us to where we are now. So symbolically is that he had a generic police badge, and tonight he's going to be pinned with his permanent badge, his Coon Rapids badge that identifies him as Coon Rapids Police Officer number 153. So this is his shiny new badge, and of course wearing a badge isn't new to Troy, but the symbolism and what it means to us here in the city of Coon Rapids, maybe has a little bit of a different connotation. But frankly, I'm feeling like I'm telling him things that he already knows. Is that one, this badge has two important things that it symbolizes. One is the faith that everybody here has in you and your ability to perform the job here for the city of Coon Rapids, myself included. Lots of people had a hand in your selection, training, and you know all this. There's a lot of characters that have played a role since you started working for us. But two, and more importantly, I emphasize that this is the citizen's badge, and never forget that it belongs to the citizens of Coon Rapids, and they're entrusting it to you. And I have no doubt at all that you'll wear this badge with honor and distinction as you perform your service to our community. So we've removed the badge, the trainee badge, and now we'll have him pinned with his permanent badge. In this case, his wife Kelly has agreed to do the badge pinning. So Troy, I'll have you stand over here in the middle, and Kelly, if you're ready to go, I'll give you the badge here. Let you do that. Thanks. And now, Mr. Mayor, I believe that Troy is ready for his oath of office.
Hey.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor? Good. Small chunks, the memory but it's short.
All right, that works. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna let you hold that with your left hand and raise your right hand. And I'll do this in small chunks. I, Troy Highland,
I, Troy Highland,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and discharge faithfully
and discharge faithfully
the duties of a police officer for the city of Coon Rapids
the duties of a police officer for the city of Coon Rapids
in the county of Anoka
in the county of Anoka
and the state of Minnesota to the best of my judgment and ability.
in the state of Minnesota to the best of my judgment and ability.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
You did have us doing the math in our head then, Chief. Let's see, so 2016, and all right, next item on our agenda this evening is the 2016 Community Service Survey presentation. And Maria, it looks like you were queued up to do that, huh?
I am.
Nice.
Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. Today I'm going to give you guys I know we've talked already back in January at a work session about the community survey results, but today we're going to do a very high-level overview for our residents who are watching this at home, and also because we will be including a short section of the spring newsletter. We'll really dive into the results, so I just kind of wanted to get it on everybody's radar, so when the newsletter hits just in a few weeks, they can kind of be aware of what the survey was about. So to kind of get started, a little bit of history, the last time we did a survey was in 2012 We also did one in 2013, but that was focused mainly on the park referendum. So it had been about 4 years since the city had conducted a community survey. So what the city did, we use the National Research Center that's based out of Boulder, Colorado. This is a national service. We use their National Citizen Survey, which is a template that is used by over 500 different communities across the nation. And this allows us to then benchmark against how we're doing against other communities. So we sent out 1,500 random mail-in surveys to 1,500 random households in the city. If you can see on the map there, they were evenly divided amongst the 5 wards so that we could get an even scope from our entire city. Wanted to make sure we had good representation. We had 412 returned surveys, which is about 27.5% response rate, which is very normal to what is expected for a city with our population, which means that we have a statistically significant data with plus or minus 5% margin of error. So here's a map of the communities across the country that also do the National Citizen Survey, and 38 communities are within Minnesota. As I said before, we went through the national benchmarking process, and there was 3 items in which we were ranked higher than the national average, and I'd like to highlight those for our residents. The 3 items are shopping opportunities. We were actually ranked 23 out of 266. For preventative health services, we were ranked 29 out of 209 comparable communities. For healthcare, we were ranked 36 out of 233 communities. So those are things to be very proud of for our community. When residents were asked about the quality of life here in the city of Coon Rapids, 72% of them gave positive ratings, which means either excellent or good. We also asked residents if they were to be likely to remain in the city of Coon Rapids within the next 5 years, and 86% of them said that they would be likely to remain within the city. About 80% said that, sorry, skipped ahead here. 80% said they would recommend living in the city of Coon Rapids to others, and then 81% of people said that Coon Rapids is a good place to live. In addition to asking about the quality of life in the survey, we also asked about specific city services that are provided, and 3/4 of our residents gave excellent or good ratings to the overall quality of city services that are provided. And in the next slide, I'll start highlighting some of those services. For our safety, safety was ranked as one of the top priorities for our community. The ambulance and EMS services were ranked positively at 94%. The fire service was ranked positively at 93%. The police service was ranked positively at 86%. Fire prevention at 80%. And then crime prevention at 73%. Some other services that we asked about, and these are services that we get lots of questions about, so we wanted to make sure we highlighted them for our residents. The recycling was rated positively at 85%, 76% for customer service, 65% snow removal, 64 and 63% for sidewalk and street cleaning. And I just want to point out that all these numbers, again, are within the national benchmark. We are within that normal of the communities our size across the nation. Diving a little bit more into safety, 9 out of 10 of our residents felt safe in their neighborhoods and in the commercial area, so it's something to be very proud of, that our residents feel safe. We also touched on the city parks, especially with the recent efforts to, with all the park improvements that we've had, and 85% of people felt positively about the city parks, again, within that national benchmark. We also asked, we had a part of the survey where we could kind of customize questions to our particular community. And in this question, we asked residents to rank these following items and to highlight what their highest priority was. The highest priority for the residents was development along Coon Rapids Boulevard at 39%, followed by street reconstruction and infrastructure improvement at 26%, industrial development and job growth at 16%, additional housing options 11%, beautification of the city and development in other commercial areas were both at 4%. As with any survey, there's always opportunities for ways in which we can improve. And here we're going to highlight some of those. So opportunities for the city to improve. We want to try to get our overall image numbers up to make sure that our residents have a higher rating for that. And also there's an opportunity for the city to provide more cultural arts and musical activities for our residents. Some other opportunities for our citizens to participate in. Our residents were rated a little lower than the national average on volunteering, participating in city events, and going to city-sponsored events and working in the city. So the city is going to post more information about that on our city website and how residents can get more involved, making sure that they're aware of events going forward. And that's kind of a big overview of what residents will see in the Coon Rapids Connection, the spring newsletter that's going to hit homes here within the next few weeks. We will also have all of your reports available online at coonrapidsmn.gov/National Citizen Survey, and my contact information will be there as well. If anybody has questions, they can always contact me. That's all I have.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions now? No? Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is the approval of the previous minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Johnson to approve the March 7th, 2017 council meeting minutes. There's one typo I would just probably want, it should be Scott Bromley instead of Scott Brimley. I'm not sure who that is, but. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those minutes are approved. Next is to authorize Connexus to place facilities on the city property. This is from Mr. Hemmer. Mr. Himmer. And this is related to the Foley project. You want to highlight or?
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, Council, they're relocating some overhead facilities. Some will be converted to underground, and they're going to place 2 switching cabinets kind of in the northeast corner of the old fire station property there on 115th. Again, this is being done by permit and not by easement, so if we ever want to redevelop and reconfigure that space, they're going to have to relocate at their cost at that time.
Thank you. And it's not going to get in the way of the future broomball, kickball, what is it?
Boot hockey.
Boot hockey, right there? Oh.
I'm not aware of such things.
It's still under the radar.
Nor do you need to be.
All right. Council, what's your wish?
Consent agenda.
Yep.
Oh, it's consent?
Keep going through.
We zip right into consent? Usually I put a big note on your consent agenda. All right. Dial into this. Here we go. Sorry about that. Item 5, adopt resolution 17-37 in support of Anoka County Bunker Hills Regional Parks Master Plan Amendment. Over the last several months, Anoka County has been conducting community engagement for feedback on proposed projects for inclusion in the Bunker Hills Regional Park Master Plan. These projects include 2 outdoor gathering areas at the Activity Center, connecting the Activity Center and the Central Maintenance Shop to city sewer and water services, additional trail construction and improvements to the maintenance shops within the park. The proposed projects have been well received and the master plan amendment has been drafted. The plan went before the City Parks and Recreation Commission at their February meeting and recommended approval of the plan. So this would be to adopt resolution 17-37 in support of the Bunker Hills Regional Park Master Plan Amendment. Item 6 under the consent agenda. Consider recommendation of reappointment for Charter Commission members Norman Warner, Glenda Meixel maybe, and Alden Hofstede. And they would be reappointed to serve another 4-year term effective March 2017, with said term to expire March 2021. Next item is to approve final payment for project 14-2 street reconstruction. Final payment to Park Construction Company in the amount of $91,217.82. And the actual project costs were less than the final contract amount due to less work needing to be performed than the actual bid. And all of the dates and amounts are reasonable and accurate according to the project file. No liquidated damages are recommended. So we're approving change orders and final payment to Park Construction Company in the amount of $91,217.82 for project 14-2. Next item is to approve the final payment for project 15-2 street reconstruction. This is to Hard Drivers Incorporated, and the actual project costs were less than the final contract amount due to less work, or less required work than the actual bid. So we are approving final payment to Hard Drivers Incorporated in the amount of $151,145.76 for project 15-2 street reconstruction. And then item 9 is to approve final payment for project 16-4 street reconstruction. The changes to the project were for dewatering and utility work at Northdale Middle School. The actual project costs were less than the final contract amount due to less work required than the actual bid. So we are approving a change order and final payment to North Valley Incorporated in the amount of $188,820 for project 16-4 street reconstruction. And then the last item on the consent agenda is to accept the 2016 Community Development Annual Report. And this is the report that is prepared annually and summarizes the various activities in the Community Development Department, including planning, housing and neighborhoods, economic and redevelopment, and building inspections. Separate reports are also attached which highlight the work of the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for 2016. And yeah, the only thing I highlighted on there was one of our newest businesses already filed bankruptcy. But maybe they'll make it for a while, I don't know. So that's the full consent agenda.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Wells.
move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Wells, second by Demmer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda is adopted. Next item on our agenda is to hold a public hearing on the Alina Health System revenue bonds and consider adopting Resolution 17-40, approving the issuance of these bonds. Alina Health System previously issued revenue bonds which are proposed to be refinanced. The City of Minneapolis, acting jointly with the City of St. Paul, will be the issuers of the bonds, which are not expected to exceed $200 million. However, the City of Coon Rapids must still authorize the issuance since some of the facilities are physically located within the City of Coon Rapids. And and a large portion of these are going into Mercy Hospital at 4050 Coon Rapids Boulevard, so seems like a good thing to happen. So is there anything anybody wants to present before we open the public hearing?
Mayor and Council, Mr. Nate Carnova is here from Dorsey Whitney if there are any questions.
But he'll just respond. There's no presentation needed, I don't think.
Okay. All right, well, if anybody is here to address council on the Alina Health System revenue bonds, we'll open the public hearing now. Anybody here to address council for the public hearing on the Alina Health System revenue bonds? Going once, going twice for the public hearing, and we'll close the public hearing and reserve to council here.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend or adopt the resolution 17-40 approving the issuance of bonds by the City of Minneapolis and the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of the City of St. Paul, Minnesota on behalf of Alina Health Systems under Minnesota statute sections 469.112 to 469.165.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Kraskowiak. Discussion? Councilmember Demmer?
I thought this was pretty well explained last time. It's more of just a formality and there's no real risk to the city. We're just asked to sign off on somebody else's risk. So anyone listening at home hearing a large bond number doesn't have to worry, it's not ours.
Yes, right.
but we're benefiting it by a lot of
You're
it.
benefiting.
Yeah.
Benefit with no risk.
Right.
Sold.
No more discussion. We had a motion and a second, correct?
Yep.
That's right. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. The next item on our agenda is to award a generator maintenance contract. We had 4 bids were opened on March 3rd for generator maintenance. A summary of the proposals is attached. A 3-year maintenance contract is recommended with an option to renew for 2 additional 1-year periods. The city currently has 18 backup generators at various water and sewer facilities and 4 generators for backup at the 3 fire stations and City Hall Police. The contract is divided into regular services and on-demand as-needed services. The regular services, levels 1 to 3, include inspections, preventive maintenance, and cooling system services. The on-demand as-needed services, level 4 to 5, include load bank testing, valve adjustments, and battery replacements, and were bid under the assumption that all generators needed the service in order to compare prices. This came from Ms. Lake. So do we do like reviews of these contractors? I was just wondering, because I've heard of a couple of these and I haven't heard of the one that actually we're selecting, and I'm just curious if we look into their qualifications and review their service.
We do, and in this case, we did probably more extensively because we were a little bit concerned because of the differences in prices. And this is kind of a new player on the block, but we did check references as best we could. We did make sure that they were certified to service our kinds of equipment. And we did actually discuss with them, we had an extra meeting just to kind of go over this because we were a little bit concerned that they were maybe too small to handle it. But they convinced us to give them a try. We felt comfortable with them. And in the contract, when we actually write it, we're going to give a 30-day cancellation in case there are some concerns. So yes, we do.
And then, because this is preventive maintenance, we won't know if they're really doing or not doing it until we really need it and it works or doesn't work. Do we kind of oversee their work that they do, or?
We, our facilities manager does oversee that, and I think with conversations when they come out, to do the work, he gets a feel for what kind of job they're doing.
Okay.
So,
In addition to just overseeing it, they run tests on the equipment. So it's not like it only fires up when it needs to fire up. When they do their maintenance, they run testing of the equipment to make sure that it's going to function.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we ran this one through a lot.
Okay. All right, sounds good, thank you. Council?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to award the generator maintenance contract to Power System Services in the amount of $56,820 for a 3-year contract with the option to renew for 2 additional years if desired.
Second.
Motion by Griscoviac and second by Demmer. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. And, oops. Next item is to award the contract for the Wilderness Bunker Hills Trail Extension construction. And we are proposing to build, Coon Rapids is proposing to build a new trail connecting Wilderness Trail from north of Main Street near Avocet Street to an existing trail system located south of the existing dog park. Staff coordinated a joint powers agreement with Anoka County detailing cost sharing and ongoing maintenance responsibilities between the 2 agencies. The joint powers agreement was approved by the county board on January 24th and the city council on February 7th, 2017 respectively. The trail is proposed to be located entirely on Anoka County parkland. The advertisement for bids was published on February 24th and March 3rd, and the bids were opened on March 15th. And we have a summary of the bids in front of us. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of people wanted to do that one. Engineer's estimate for the project was $205,400. Barber Construction has constructed several trails in Coon Rapids, including the previous segment of Wilderness Trail to the south, and has performed well. And pending award of contract, the trail work would begin on April 24th, or as soon as road restrictions are lifted, and would be completed by June 23rd. Anything else you want to cover? Councilmember Johnson.
I move adoption of resolution 17-9, awarding a contract to Barber Construction in the amount of $198,250 for the Wilderness Bunker Hills Trail Extension construction. And I note that as a part of this, the impact of the city will be about 50% of that cost, plus the 12% engineering and administration will be reimbursed by Anoka County.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Geisler. Discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right. Summer's coming. We're going to go buy a lawnmower. Item 14. We are looking at purchasing a 2017 Toro Groundmaster mower. It's a, I could just read all this. You've got really good notes here. You want to hit the highlights?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this was a replacement mower, but based upon Sand Creek coming online and some of the other facilities, we currently have the ability to only mow with 3 mowers at a 16-foot wide swath. So we've decided, and hope that you agree with, keeping this one in the fleet now gives us the ability to have 4. One can be parked at Sand Creek, one for the east side of town, one for the west side of town, and then we've got the pull behind, which kind of handles the tougher, non-manicured stormwater ponds and that sort of stuff. So the change from what was approved in the budget is we'd like to keep this one and get rid of the pull behind, and there's probably a cost differential of about $4,000 in that trade-in value. But
16 feet wide. That's a serious swath.
yes, it is. I'd like to have one for my home.
Big yard.
I wouldn't mind that.
All right. Any questions, or council want to make a motion, or?
Good Minnesota company.
Yep.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Demmer.
I will move to purchase a 2017 Toro Groundmaster 5910 mower from MTI Toro under the state contract for $104,075.76, and to retain the old Unit 108, which is a 2009 Toro Groundmaster 5910 mower.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I thought I was going to die for a lack of a second there. All right, item 15 on our agenda is to accept plans and specs for Crescent Pond's 9th edition and authorize solicitation of bids. And the work proposed to be included within the contract is the sanitary sewer, the water main lateral, the storm drain lateral, and a residential cul-de-sac. And this is all in Crescent Pond's 9th edition. Is that what it was? Yeah. And once the contract has been awarded, the work will be scheduled to take place between May and July of 2017. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion on this? Yeah, Councilmember Kicker.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the council adopt resolution number 17-18, open parent 8, closed parent, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement of bids for the proposed construction of public improvements to serve the Crescent Ponds 9th edition.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Johnson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. And item 16, consider resolution 17-13 sub 8, accepting plans and specifications for miscellaneous trail improvements and authorizing solicitation of bids. And this is going to be several trail projects from Bison Creek Park, Epiphany Ponds Park, Marshland Park, Mercy Park, Wildwood Park, Wintercrest Park, and Woodview Park. And it's all various trail connections and other things. And a budget amendment for the Park Improvement Fund in the approximate amount of $305,000, with the remainder of the project funds, $149,000, coming from the park referendum once bids are known. Trails specific to a certain park are proposed to be funded from the Park Improvement Fund, and those associated with pass-through trails on the larger city system are proposed to be funded from the park referendum. If approved, the advertisement would be published in March with a bid opening scheduled for April 12th. Bid results and a recommendation for contract award would be presented to council at the April 18th meeting, and once the contract has been awarded, the work will be scheduled to take place between June and September of 2017. Was that pretty much everything, Mr. Himmer, or is there anything else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, the budget amendment will be coming at the time when the bids are awarded, or to be considered to be awarded.
Yep.
We're not requesting that now, we're just making it known that there was an error in the budgeting process, and so I just wanted it to be known now that we'll be seeking a budget amendment when the bids are received.
Yeah, I should have highlighted 3 more words. Staff will request a budget amendment. Okay.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Demmer?
Move to adopt resolution number 17-13 sub 8, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement of bids for the miscellaneous trail improvements that were read off.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Geisler. Discussion? Councilmember Demmer.
So I had a little discussion with Mr. Himmer before. I just think it's always good to note these park trails. See, I've got this right. They sort of have an expected service life of somewhere between 20 and 35 years, depending on conditions and how well maintenance goes and things like that. And for the most part, these were all built in the late 70s and mid 80s. So this is regular scheduled replacement. This isn't poor building. This isn't stuff that fell apart or anything like that. And then there was one that was a little younger than that, but it's mostly because of a drainage issue, and specifically this is fixing the drainage issue. So this is just the cost of having trails. You got to replace them once in a while, and they lasted longer than their expected life. So I'm in favor.
Yeah, and that was a good clarification, because it's trail reconstruction, and I don't think I said that. So.
Mayor. Just to be clear, I know this came up, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. These aren't full trail segments. They're just areas that need some attention. And we've received comments on that in the past. Well, you didn't do all of it. Why did you only do this portion of it? And it's based upon our rating system, and now we consider trails the same way we consider our roadways. They're part of a pavement management program, and so while we're talking marshland, every trail in marshland is not going to get redone, and every trail in Bison is not going to get redone. It's just those in need to make them usable and safe.
And is it because they're different age trails, or they've just worn differently?
Well, you're going through some lowlands in some areas. Maybe you need a culvert added in some areas. Maybe it's experienced heavier maintenance traffic because it's access into and out of an area. So they're just wearing differently based upon the use that they get.
Mr. Himmer, one park in particular I heard some feedback on, that's Bison Creek, and along 127th there. It doesn't show on your map, but in that reconstruction, that pavement reconstruction, I think there needs to be a culvert in there or something else, because when it rains, water just fills in there and it just sits there. And right now it's all muddy and sloppy, so I'm sure that's covered in your plan. I didn't notice it, but
yes,
I'm just making sure that it is.
Kristroviak. It's the final attachment specific project graphics. For Bison Park, it notes remove and replace 18-inch culvert. It may be a different location, and I guess I'd ask you to look at that and tell me if it's something different, but it is called out as a culvert replacement is necessary.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? And hearing none. Yeah, we have a motion and a second, right? Yeah, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Next item on our agenda is establishing a sewer rate increase. And I'll bet that's why Ms. Legg is queued up at the...
Yes, Mayor, I have just a very short presentation. Staff is recommending that we increase sewer rates effective May 1st with the billing that goes out on May 1st. The sewer fund is a self-supporting fund, so all the revenue that comes into that fund comes from user rates. So on our quarterly bills, we're billing for water, sewer, and storm. So at this point, we're just recommending that there is a sewer rate increase. We're not doing or recommending water or storm at this time. So overall, there would be a increase of about 4.7%, but it will not hit everybody equally because there's a higher base fee. You know, if you have a low usage, the base fee will raise your percentage increase. But I'll just go through this just a little bit and just kind of show you where we're coming from in terms of the revenues and the expenditures. I'm going to skip that page because that doesn't show fully on there. But basically, what I'm trying to get to here is a break even on our financial statement. And with this rate increase, we'll basically break even. That's the goal, to break even. And it seems to work pretty well when we're projecting this out with sewer, because it's not based so much on consumption. It's based on winter quarter consumption, which is maybe a little bit more consistent. With the rate increase, we put up a couple of samples of where we would be, because not everybody has the same sort of structure. Some cities have a rate structure where it's all based on usage. Some cities have a structure where it's all flat rate. And then a number of cities like us have a combination fee schedule where they've got a base fee and then they also have a consumption fee. So given the proposed rate increase, which I'll show you in a second here, if a user was using 10,000 gallons of water, and again, that's their winter quarter consumption, if they actually use less in the summer than their winter quarter, they get billed based on the lesser amount. But here's where Coon Rapids would fall in this group of cities. So we would be, you know, you can see like over here on the end, Brooklyn Center is the highest of the samples that we picked. And we try to take similar cities and cities that are around us. We've got access to a lot of cities' rates because we're a Logis city and a lot of these are, so it's real easy to get the information. But you can see that Brooklyn Center for 10,000 use would be about $82 compared to what we'd be recommending would be $57. Brooklyn Park on the other end is about $35. So there's quite a range for users of 10,000, and that's going to be the same for the rest of them too. But the next sample that we picked would be 15,000 gallons, and we would be at about $72 versus the highest one there is New Hope. The lowest one is Blaine, our neighbor, for sewer, looking at 15,000. And then the next sample we took was 20,000. And we'd be at about $88.50 versus Fridley, which for that consumption would be up at $116, and Blaine again down at $48. So you can see Blaine would be one of those cities that just has a flat rate. No matter how much you use, you pay the same. What we're recommending is that we have a combination fee, a base fee that also combined with a user fee covers our costs. And our base fee, what we're looking at is our fixed costs, because we feel like no matter what kind of sewer you put into the system, all the fixed costs, maintaining all the mains, have to be covered. So we're trying to allocate that. And we don't do it exactly proportionately, but what we're striving to do is charge commercial, industrial, institutional, places that might have a bigger lot size where there's a lot more main and a lot more infrastructure to maintain at a higher rate. All the single family houses would have the same base rate, and then townhouses would have a different rate, and then condominiums a different base rate. So what we're recommending is for that single family home, the base rate has been $24. We're recommending that go up to $25.50. And then there's a minimum, a combination of the base rate and the consumption rate. A minimum, no matter what you use, would always have to be $49 compared to $46.50. We did increase the max just at the, we have a flat amount of gallons that we used to get to the max last year, and we just construed those same gallons with the new rates to get a maximum of $101.10. So the old consumption rate we are presently under is $3 per 1,000 gallons. We're proposing $3.15 per 1,000 gallons. Townhomes and commercial and industrial, like I said, are each have a different base. Commercial, institutional, and industrial do not have any kind of minimum or maximum. And they are not winter quarter consumption either. They're all based on actual consumption because their processes operate. They're not sprinkling meters. Generally, the sprinkling meters, are in the water system. They're separate. So this is all sewer based on their consumption. And then just kind of trying to point out what kind of an impact that would have to these three different users. Somebody that's using 10,000 gallons, they would go up about 5.6%. They would be increasing about $3 a quarter or $12 a year. That 15,000 would have about a 5.4% overall increase, and that would go annually up by about $15. The 20,000 consumption would be about an $18 annual increase or $4.50 per quarter, and that's 5.4%. And that's basically what I have in the presentation. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Sharon, you mentioned that this is all user fees, right? 'Cause we reclaim
Correct.
everything and you wind up with a zero balance.
We strive for that.
Strive.
So if we make more money in one year, it just means we have to make less the next year. I mean, we can use some of that fund balance, but we strive to break even.
And the reason I ask that is we're nearing the completion of the sewer relining. That was a big expense every year so far. Is that gone into consideration, or was that prior user fees that paid for all that, or?
What we do in a case like that where we have those large capital expenditures, we depreciate them over years. So when we're looking at setting rates, we're looking at two things. We're trying to cover all the costs, including, say, 1/20th or 1/40th, because if a sewer relining will last 40 years, we'll depreciate that over 40 years. So we'll cover all of those capital costs, but yet we also have to have enough cash to pay for all those improvements. And sometimes you'll see we have to bond. If we don't have enough cash, we haven't had to bond in the sewer fund. We really haven't bonded in the sewer fund for a very long time, but we do in water. So we're looking at it twofold that way. But yes, all those improvements we are covering, but we're covering the cost of that year's expense because we're using up like 1/40th of that main. So we're covering 1/40th of that main or relining of that main with those costs. Is there another question? I think there might be.
Councilmember Demmer?
Sure, so just, it's a 4.7% increase, right? So it was just a little unclear what's driving the increase. It's a little more than inflation,
Okay.
but maybe that's more aligned with construction cost increase?
Well, part of what's going on is we do have a lot of capital that we are doing. So all that capital does add cost. So we've got all those capital expenditures. A big portion of our budget goes to the Metropolitan Waste Control. Their increase this year is about 3.25%, so it's actually less than last year. Last year they had a pretty big increase. It was 11% that we didn't raise rates last year. We tried to just kind of absorb it and kind of even this out. But when you have those kinds of big increases, and I forgot to pull out how much percent of the budget, but it's probably, I'm going to say about 65% of the budget. Okay, so 65% of the budget goes to the Metropolitan Waste Control. And that's the part of the budget that's based on variable costs. So if we're sending less flow to the Metropolitan Waste Control, that's where people's variable, or their $3.15 per 1,000 gallons, tries to cover all of that flow. The rest of the costs, other than maybe some electricity for lift pumps, are basically fixed. We still, no matter if we put no flow in the system, we still have to clean those lines. So we're sort of stuck with them no matter how much it gets used. Except for that portion, that's the variable that goes to the Metropolitan Waste Control. Or it's Metropolitan Council, sorry, that's an old word. So
you're not just flushing money down the toilet. Sorry.
Cricket. Any other questions for Ms. Legg? Okay. Council, what's your direction?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I look at our staff and what we've been doing to really make sure that we're doing the right maintenance, that we've got the right equipment to make sure that this is a service that's always there and always working, whether, you know, like we've done the upgrades with our water and our water control and the sewer systems. And to me, it's the right thing to do to make those maintenance updates now and to make sure that we're looking ahead so we're not paying for big things that break in the future. So I appreciate keeping up and doing this, and it makes it a little hard. There are little increases along the way, but it's the right thing for the long term.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
I don't
Johnson.
think there's anybody on this council that likes to increase anybody's rates. I mean, I think that's a pretty safe thing to say, but considering the fact that we're looking at this in terms of a zero balance, I'm going to vote in support of the increase. I know that has an effect on many people in the community, but we have to pay for the services that we have and that we need to deliver in a good and timely and well-constructed way. And so I'm going to make a motion to adopt Resolution 17-39, establishing the new sewer rate.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Demmer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
I would note, providing these services is one of the things we scored high on.
All right. We are up to the open mic portion of the agenda. Is anybody here to address council tonight for open mic? All right, open mic provides an opportunity for the public to address the city council on subjects that are not part of the regular meeting agenda. The public is invited to express any concerns they may have, which are relevant to the affairs, policies, or practices of the city of Coon Rapids. Remarks will be limited to 3 minutes, and we will be, let's see here. Open mic is not a time for problem solving or reacting to the comments made, but for hearing the speaker for informational purposes only. Questions from council will be for clarification only, and if necessary, a staff report will be prepared for the next regular council meeting with a copy forwarded to the speaker. Please give us your name and address, Mr. Holland.
I'm John Holland. For about 21 years, I've been a citizen here, and I live just on the other side of Coon Rapids Boulevard at 10551 Quinn Street. I believe I'm in Ms. Geisler's area. And I apologize for coming in and out. As soon as I walked in the door, saw the lights and the huge crowd here, I had the worst bloody nose of my life. But I think I'm okay. Frankly, I'm mad as heck. And one of the things I'm frustrated about is the people I'm mad at for the litter in town are not any of the people here. Certainly not your fault. But I'm fed up with the garbage and the litter and the trash throughout our city. Kind of came to a head today because I went down on Coon Rapids Boulevard in front of L.O. Jacob. Big black trash bags, been sitting there for over a week in the street, not even, hidden in the bushes, right in the gutter of the street. And a little closer to Egret was the contents of another bag of trash spread throughout the gutter. One of the worst cases I've seen that has gone on that long. But as I bike around this town, as I walk with my dog and what little driving I do, I see trash everywhere. I don't know that we're any worse than any other town, but I don't care because I live here. And I just hate trash and garbage. I see bags in trees, tremendous number of plastic bottles, especially in gutters, working their way into the storm drains. Lots of beer bottles, glass bottles. And I'm absolutely stunned at how many hard liquor bottles I find throughout the city in, rights of way and places like that. I've never seen so much vodka bottles in my life, or as many vodka bottles as I've seen in the last 5 or 10 years. It collects a lot, or it's scattered a lot by bus stops, and especially gets caught up in grass and trees. And of course, right now is one of the worst time of the years because the snow's gone, you can see everything, and the vegetation hasn't filled in. But it's really just an appearance problem right now. It's really there all year, even if we can't see it. And I already gave you the specific example that brought me here tonight, although I've been thinking about this for a while. So my request is, I'd like to ask the city council and the city staff to consider what measures the city could adopt in terms of beautifying the city on a continual basis. I have a specific question that I know you're not going to answer tonight, and then a couple recommendations. One is, the question is, like this case I saw today, very rarely do I see enough trash in one particular spot, even in the street, that it warrants a call to somebody. I mean, I'm pissed off a lot, but I don't call people every time I'm ticked off, excuse me. But if on those rare occasions, like when I found fluorescent bulbs scattered down by L.O. Jacob and this other thing, I don't know who to call. I mean, I could go get this one today, and I did, but sometimes it's just not safe, and I don't have the time or resources to do it. So that's a particular question of mine. And I'll end with a couple recommendations for you to consider. I know during the summer, I believe it's the county work crews go up and down at least Coon Rapids Boulevard, mowing, picking up trash. God, they do a fantastic job. I wish we could hire those, or I wish you could hire those guys, or however the city gets their services. I wish you could do that more often. They do a tremendous job. I feel bad we got to have people from the workhouse, if that's even an acceptable term, picking up trash that we put out there, but that's another issue. I'd love to see trash cans at bus stops. I brought this up at a City in the Park meeting several years ago before you were the mayor. And I realize that means somebody's got to empty them, and you know, I realize there are downsides to everything, but the alternative is trash goes on the ground. Even if the can's there, some of the trash is going to go on the ground because that's the way people are, but it will help. Another recommendation would be to encourage citizen help. We've got the community newsletter, the recycling center, we got lots of avenues for advertising, and basically make people feel guilty about littering in the first place, if not downright taking police action on them, and encourage them to clean up. Two other recommendations, maybe consider something like a spring and fall cleanup day, where the city says, you know, Saturday the X of March, you know, you can come over to the recycling center and get bags or gloves or whatever few things you need to provide, and have Boy Scout groups and businesses and other people go out and do designated neighborhoods or rights of way along Coon Rapids Boulevard or our other main streets. So publicize it and announce those and see how it goes. And then the last one would be encourage sponsorship of certain areas or streets, like we do sort of throughout the country. And maybe we do that here, I just don't know about it. And beyond just trash, even landscaping efforts. As the year goes on and the vegetation starts to grow, a lot of it's just out of control, but it's generally pretty crappy stuff. You know, we got Coon Rapids Boulevard has almost no landscaping. There's a beautiful section typically by L.O. Jacob. I don't know who does that, some garden group, I'm sure, in the city. They do a great job, but that's just one small area, and there's lots of others that could take advantage of it. So, thank you for listening. Unless you have a question, I'm done.
Thanks, Mr. Holland.
Thank you.
A couple of the other people here deferred their time to you, so I didn't call you on the 3 minutes. That was me, I guess. Anybody else here for open mic this evening? All right, we'll close open mic out. And we had one open mic at the last council meeting, Mr. Dave Thielen. And he spoke about the reconstruction of Foley Boulevard from Egret to Northdale, which began in the summer of 2016. Not sure how much everybody's kind of understands this now, but the initial work largely consisted of relocating and replacing utilities in the area. In August of 2016, the county's contractor began work on Foley, and this work continued until the end of the construction season. Over the winter months, the condition of Foley was the source of ongoing complaints from the drivers, residents, and businesses in the area, and the poor condition of the road was exacerbated by varying weather conditions and heavy rains. Anoka County has attempted several different approaches in order to keep the road in a functioning condition. Recently, Anoka County decided to implement a more formal closure and detour of Foley Boulevard. However, access to residential traffic and business will be maintained. The takeaway here is reconstruction of Foley Boulevard has now resumed, starting with the reclamation of the existing southbound lane from 111th to the south driveway at McDonald's. During the week of March 20th, dirt and sewer crews will be on site. The dirt crews will finish grading from Egret Boulevard to 108th, and the sewer crews will start installing temporary water main from 110th Lane to O'Reilly Auto Parts on Northdale Boulevard, along with installing gate valves at every side street north of 110th. There's various websites for all of the updates, and we met with Mr. Thielen and another business owner over there and a county commissioner, and he expressed the need for improved communications on this project, and the city and county officials discussed these issues and how to better meet the needs of the residents and businesses in the area, including more timely communications on project activities and changes. If there's any other comments about Foley right now, do we have any other?
The only thing I'd like to reemphasize, and you read it as a part of that, but the roadway does remain open to residences, so if you have people to visit there, you should still be able to find a way to use it, and to local businesses as well. So if you want to go to McDonald's or Dunn Brothers or to the liquor store or wherever up there, you can still
Select Eye Care, Continental Cafe.
all of that, yeah, especially those, or to the mall. You can use it all. Sometimes it may be beneficial for you to use a little bit of a back route to get there, whether it's down Kumquat or, perhaps Northdale or whatever. But everything's open. It just, it's under construction.
Mr. Stemwedel?
Mayor and Council, if I might just sort of take this as the opportunity to ask people if they're interested in hearing about construction updates throughout, and we're getting into that season now and will be until the snow flies again in the fall. On our city website, we have the option for, they're called Notify Me, and they're essentially their emails. It's a service you can sign up for and select the categories you're interested in. One of them, of course, is construction updates. You'll get this nice little list every Friday afternoon of the activities that have occurred, what's coming up the next week. It's especially handy if you're having a road reconstructed in your neighborhood, but even if it's just an area you're driving through, to know that, it's going to be closed, or, some things are changing, they've got it tore up. So you can find it on our website. It's called Notify Me. It's pretty slick, and you get to select, and there are many other things you can sign up for in terms of information beyond just road construction, but it's pretty handy.
And if you want just actual information of what's going on, if you stop into the Continental Cafe, you got the whole crew over there at the table that'll bring you up to speed on things.
Cherry chip donuts.
Yeah.
Cherry chip donuts.
Ooh, the apple fritters are my favorite there.
Mr. Mayor, just to add to that, Anoka County being this is a coordinated effort, they have the same capability on their website under their Construction Weekly. So instead of you having to go to their website and find the stuff, it'll show up in your inbox. So you wouldn't have to do that. So they have the same ability on their website to sign up for those same construction updates.
All right, excellent. Anything else on that?
I say one thing because it's a good reminder, and the open mic that we had today is a good reminder of this as well. Remember, for everybody out there, and I don't know if people can see this or whatever, but the website has a report it feature. And so you can go to this little link right over here, click on it, and if you see things like garbage and you want to draw the city's attention to it, you can do it anonymously. You can sign your name to it or whatever, but you can report it and ask that the city pay attention to it. And I know this is going to be a topic that's going to be part of our business retreat that's coming up, and how to beautify the city and its corridors. And so I appreciate those comments tonight.
Yeah. And then the last couple of years of school district, the third graders have written letters to the mayor, and they're really fun to go through. And one of the recurring themes is litter in the parks, litter in the streets. So it's, yeah, it is a deal. Yeah. Anything else on that? If not, we'll go to other business. And here we are, other business. Councilmember Demmer.
Yeah, so there's a pair of open houses. They're at the same time and place, Thursday, March 23rd from 5 to 7:30, right here in the council chambers. And they're both about some upcoming trails. And I think they're really good, needed trails. One from on Coon Rapids Boulevard from Hanson to Egret, and then following Egret down to 99th. So really increasing access to the dam, really making, improving Coon Rapids Boulevard access for non-cars. And then the second one, which I think is really going to improve the safety of the city, is along Coon Rapids Boulevard extension, which, driving that quite frequently, there's an awful lot of foot and mobility scooter traffic, most likely on the way to the park and ride or to Culver's or to the apartments nearby. So the open houses for those are coming up in just a couple days here. Again, Thursday, March 23rd from 5 to 7:30 if you're interested in learning more or sharing your opinions. But I think two very positive trail improvements for the city. So now you all know.
Excellent. Anything else for other business? Councilmember?
Your Honor, I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge Coon Rapids lost just a real icon last week in Ron Gageby, one of the best people you'll ever know, $1 Million Smile, longtime business owner in the city, and sat in this chair at council at large for 8 years. And I saw people at his wake last night that I haven't seen for 25 years, police and fire. I'll admit I'm a little biased. He was a strong supporter of public safety, but shouldn't we all be? And, so I just wanted to acknowledge him because just one of the real good guys in Coon Rapids.
Prior to that, he used to own Ron Skelly on Coon Rapids Boulevard. And I never saw anybody laugh as hard as Ron when they had to call his tow truck across the street to the house my brother rented to have him tow a car out of a hole that my brother's dog dug in the yard. Ron came over, this car's buried up to the frame in a hole that the dog dug, and he just started laughing. He could hardly hook the car up. It was just, he was a great guy. Big loss. All right, any other business for the council this evening? Nothing, Mr. Stemwedel? All right. Wait, Mr. Anderson, your head was down. You were trying to not make eye contact.
No, I never try to avoid eye contact.
What's going on with the golf course?
Well, the golfers and the golf staff at Bunker Hills and the whole staff are like surfers staring out in the ocean waiting for our next big wave. We had a nice one Sunday. And we all felt good about that, but now we're just standing there with sad faces waiting for the next one to come in. And I think maybe in a week or so we'll have a good patch of weather and we're excited to get back after it. But it's been a heck of a lot of fun when we have good weather. We've seen a lot of folks come out and we're just waiting for our next opportunity. So.
And you've been doing shotgun starts out there, right?
Yeah, we have. We're maximizing our opportunity on days where we don't have as much, daylight. So that's kind of what we do in the spring and fall when we want to try to get as many folks out as we can. So. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. You weren't avoiding eye contact. You were trying to think of a line. That was a good line.
Yes.
All right. Well, if we have no other business to consider, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Demmer to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned.